How y'all doing today? Welcome back to 25 High. Got my... Let's see if I... Okay, I already got everything. Got my saddle stuff. Got my binos. Got the sun behind me so it blows out the image. Headed in, I'm gonna go check this camera. Dang, I always forget to bring my laptop with me to do this. But I'm gonna run check this camera. I've already checked it once. I don't know why I'm checking this camera a lot, but I am. And I'm also gonna go, there's a spot I scouted out not too long ago that looks really freaking good. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into that chunk, I think, and hang another camera there. So I figured I'd bring you guys along. Did y'all see that buck in the intro, by the way? That was a fine buck. He had one brow tine that looked like about as long as my forearm. Bucks are out and about, it appears. Nice and cool back in this swamp today for some reason. Or I say cool, it's not 700 degrees, I'll say that. When I left my place this afternoon, it was like just a straight up scorcher. And then got slowed down by that buck, ended up passing him. I went by him like 4 times, and then the last time I went by him, I stopped and literally stopped in the road and took a picture with took a video with my phone, and he just stayed there. Eventually walked in the woods, but he did not care. That was pretty awesome. Either way, let's go get this camera taken care of. By the way, I should be hog hunting right now, but it took me like 7 hours to get a hunting license today. But just so you guys know, if you are a student at an Alabama school, at an Alabama college, and you are living out of your home state, okay, like for me, I'm from Florida. I am a legal resident of Florida, but I'm going to school in Alabama, a college at Alabama, and I'm living in Alabama right now. And under those circumstances, I can get resident pricing for all my hunting license in Alabama. So if y'all didn't know about that, it's pretty awesome. It's quite a task, honestly, if you live off campus, but I think it's worth it. It took my $450 worth of licenses and dropped it down to like 60 bucks. If y'all didn't know that, now you know, and you can thank me. Alright guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I was gonna scout a little bit farther in this area, but basically I decided, what was that? That was weird, something just slapped me in the face. But no, basically I decided, like, I'm gonna leave this spot alone. If this carpool is as good or better, or I'm gonna say if this carpool is better than my last carpool, then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna let this one soak pretty much until season starts. If it's not as good, and if I'm not very impressed with it and I can't get much intel from it, I'm gonna take it. I'm probably gonna scout farther down this little drainage right here and put it up somewhere just deeper in the woods. I'm gonna leave it alone for now. First time I come out here, this place was loaded with tracks, and it's kind of slowed down a little bit. Still a lot of sign out here. Still a lot of fresh sign and stuff, but not as much as the first time. It has rained quite a bit though, so probably got something to do with it. But I'm gonna go check out this other spot. I've been about 300 yards deep in there, not super long ago. It's been about 6 or 8 days. I'm gonna try to go a lot deeper today and put up a camera. Y'all stay tuned. Right now I'm just sort of covering ground, trying to get pretty deep, kind of deep. I don't think I'm going to put my camera as deep as I want to hunt this place. But the mosquitoes are getting bad and it's getting kind of close to dark. And I don't want to really waste any time. So I'm just kind of busting brush and covering ground. That's a nice thing about these open swamps. You can use them to travel if you're in a swampy area. Use them to travel, because honestly I haven't seen hardly any deer tracks off in this stuff. So you can use these to travel. There's the first deer track I've seen in probably 200 yards of walking. But you can use them to travel. You can move pretty quick without making much noise. And they shouldn't smell you because they don't really walk through this stuff that often. Compared to everything else I've seen out here, this is a dang field. It's a wide open hag field. Seems like. Oh, look at that. Oh, there we go. That's the only issue with walking fast is you run into those more. But I haven't even seen that many of them down in these swamps. But I'm thinking there's a really nice oak grove up ahead of me. Looked like a couple of the trees had a decent amount of oaks on them, or acorns on them. Last time I come in here. So I'm gonna try to find like a good area around there and hang up this camera. I'll show you this too, that's pretty cool. I put it on Instagram stories a couple days ago, but looks like a really old chair somebody was watching this swamp from. But anyway, I saw some oaks up here. Seemed like they were doing pretty good up on the ridge out of this swamp. And I said, I need to put a camera up here. And I was like, well, I don't know. Somebody might steal it. And then I realized, well, I can put it about 12 feet up. Nobody should steal it. Look at this. Oh yeah, slick. But yeah, this is what I'm going to show you. Check that out. It's an old style tree stand, basically. But right back behind here, on this little ridge, I want to put a camera up on the edge. I really just need to find a good trail back here, because all I'm trying to do back here is kind of, I feel like a lot of my intel is going to come when I actually sit and hunt. But I need to know what areas seem like good places that deer want to be, and what caliber of deer are in the area. Basically what I'm trying to say is my cameras are partially, I mean, I am going to hunt off of my trail cameras, but not as strict as, like Cade. He hunts like 95% off his trail cameras until he sees something that's different. It's not a bad strategy if you got easier patterning bucks, but out here I don't know. I feel like I'll put a camera up and I'll get some decent intel. With that decent intel, and then coming out here and hunting, knowing what I've seen and stuff like that, that's what's gonna, all I'm trying to say is I feel like I'm gonna have to take what I see, compare it to the cameras, and lean a little bit more on what I see with my own eyes out here. So that's what I'm gonna do. This place looks tracked up. Pretty decent tracked up. I know there's a rub right through somewhere off in there through the woods, but there's a really nice edge on thick stuff right here. Basically the way this stuff lays out right here is I'm on a ridge, as you saw. I just come out of a swamp, and this ridge is fairly open, but it thickens up on, I'm assuming, the side that gets most sunlight. I think it's the west side. Either way, that side of the ridge when I say ridge, I mean just like a very subtle high spot that's not in the swamp actually. And this side gets more sunlight, and then on the other side of that is another swamp, and on the other side of that swamp it's a fairly steep slope that goes up to some private land, and that's the end of the WMA. That's the end of the floodplain that this WMA's on. I feel like this is where they're going to be feeding, and then probably what I need to do is find the travel routes between that steep slope over there and this ridge. But I'm just going to put a camera up on this ridge and see what's coming through here, if I can find a good spot to put a camera. I think I know of a spot. I need to start looking at the oaks and seeing what they're doing. There's a good white oak right there. You see that, guys? There's a trail right on the edge between this thicker stuff and this wide open stuff. There's oaks all in this. black walnuts and sweet gums. I'm honestly not seeing a ton for acorns. I'm not good at looking up at an oak tree and seeing if it's got acorns on it. Just not good at it. I haven't figured it out yet. It's hard for me to look through binos and try to decipher between just a big clump of green leaves and those little tiny acorns that are growing on them. So I'm gonna try to put a camera up right here. I know there's a rub somewhere through the woods that way, and like I was talking about, the travel route between that thick bedding or that thick slope up that way and these oaks and mess, it's one of those travel routes. Just try to get some intel. Try to figure out what's used in this area. Seems like a decent bit of tracks on this edge, and it seems like they go. Some of them go right back in there, and some of them keep going out kind of towards that swamp, where there's also a little bit more oaks right on the edge of the swamp. But there's some white oaks in here, which I really like. Best job ever, but it'll work. That's in about as good of a spot as I can get it right here. By the way, I'm setting all my cameras this year on as short of a duration as possible, like the trigger switch, whatever. So I've got all my Tascos on a 3-second delay. 3-second delay on video mode, and on my only other camera that I put out on the only camera that I put out on public that wasn't a Tasco got stolen, so that was 40 or 50 bucks down the drain. It's all part of it though. Yeah, this place definitely gets some action. I may have to go a good bit deep. There's a spider web. I may have to go a good bit deeper back in here to hunt, but as for just scouting and getting to know what's around here, this is pretty nice. There's another one of these like high spots that I've seen. It looks like one on a topo, 1,000 yards deep where I want to go. So if this spot is like good but a lot of hunters, then that's where I'm gonna go. The biggest reason I haven't gone that far deep yet this year is, well, there's two reasons. Number one, I'm a little bit lazy, and number two, it's like 700 degrees outside. And I guess there's a bunch of other reasons, like spider webs and mosquitoes and sweat and all that mess, but that's besides the point. Point is, I'm gonna kill a deer in this public land this year, a good one. May not be a giant, but it'll be a good deer. You just mark my words. Alright guys, I made it back. I'm about to check my camera. I'm about to run through what pictures I got, if I got any. Actually videos, I got my camera set on video mode, but I wanted to talk real quick about that area and my thought process. I really want to just get in and out of that spot. I'm probably going to end up letting that camera soak for a little while. So, the last time I went and scouted this spot, or let me back up. When you look at a map of this area, it's swampy and it's kind of the floodplain of the river. It looks super monotonous. And it's the picture was taken in summer, which makes it worse. The fact that the picture was taken in summer makes it worse because the all the trees are green, and then in the winter time the oak trees obviously they shed their leaves, and you can kind of tell the difference between hardwoods and pines and the different types of hardwoods. You can tell it a little bit better, but either way, monotonous. It's all green. You can't tell hardly anything from the map. But when you walk in there, it's a lot of it still does look completely monotonous. But once you find little pockets of diversity, usually it's really diverse. So that spot, it's not very far from the road, but there's like a big wide open swampy area. And then on one side it's just a big monotonous flat. There's not much over there, not a ton of oaks, nothing crazy. But there's this little ridge, a little hill that's only maybe 3 feet maybe above that little swamp, that little wet weather area. It's only a few feet higher, and it's kind of a ridge that runs parallel to the slope that I was talking about. So private land, the start of the public land, on that border there's like a fairly steep slope, and it's very thick. And I feel like a lot of deer bed on that, especially once the pressure hits. And then it drops into another swamp, then there's that little ridge system, then another big swamp, and then monotonous flats. On that ridge system, there's plenty of oaks. There's white oaks, red oaks, water oaks, different types. I'm assuming there's probably chestnut oaks in there too. I haven't seen any. So on that ridge, there's the flat, and then that ridge, which is different. That's got the oaks on it. The flat's got whatever other type of hardwood. And in that ridge system, there's like 4 different types of habitats that come together, because there'll be little thickets. There's a fallen down tree, and that creates a little thicket. There's a lot of browse, and then there's some areas that are wide open under bigger hardwoods. So there's just like little pockets of diversity that you have to find in these areas. And what I'm thinking is, I mentioned this, what I'm thinking is, and I've seen a little bit of this in the last time I went in there, but there's like, in the one swamp area, there's other little ridge systems that come off that big slope, and it's a little bit off of that, a little bit higher than that swampier stuff. And those deer, it's kind of like a funnel that those deer use to get onto the ridge system with all the oaks. So with all that being said, that's kind of my thought process for hunting this area. I put up the camera kind of as just like an observation thing, seeing what's in the area, because I know they walk up and down that ridge. But I think as far as hunting it, I'm going to have to find those funnels and those cuts between that slope and the rest of the public, and mainly that ridge system. But with that being said, let's see what's on this camera. There's a little buck. I don't think he's legal. Little duck. Oh, that was a trash card pull. I'm going to show you what was on it last time real quick. I think I'm going to pull this camera next time I go in there and try to get deeper in that same area, because this guy is hanging around there. So yeah, there's a stud of a 6-point hanging around that area. Like I say, I think I'm just going to pull that camera and move it in there somewhere deeper in that same general zone. Because, I mean, last time I pulled it, I had tons of stuff. Tons of does, tons of coons. I don't know why I had so much less this time. I think the acorns are starting to drop, so that's going to change movement a lot. But it's also going to be really good for me, because that's my bread and butter. I love hunting oaks. Always remember to live life 25 high. We'll see you next time.